A short drive from downtown Lexington, Kentucky, on scenic Old Frankfort Pike, and in the middle of some of the most stunning horse farms in the Bluegrass region, is probably the most exotic of the world's private museums. The Headley-Whitney Museum of Art includes extraordinary buildings that house a fabulous treasure of decorative art, as well as regional, national, and international art exhibitions. Welcome to the Headley-Whitney Museum of Art and the Bluegrass Trust deTours. We're so happy to be here today and glad that you've joined us. We're going to be seeing this treasure in the heart of the Bluegrass, and we're going to be looking at our grounds and our gardens, some of our architecturally interesting buildings, as well as inside the museum and our current exhibit. So we're really happy to have you, and we're going to start by looking around outside.
Hello, I'm Catherine Clay Neal. I'm president of the board of the Headley-Whitney Museum. We are now in George Headley's library. In 1968, George built this beautiful library to house his beautiful collections in his library of books. He really was an architect at heart, and he combined all of his favorite architectural features in this building. After extensive traveling around the world, he combined all of those features in this building. If you'll notice, the pointed two roofs up above were a nod to his favorite palaces in Thailand. And originally, those roofs were painted green, two tones of green, that pretty patina that copper gets, large stripes so that look like two tents up there. Then the two bowed windows out front are a nod to his favorite country house in England, Luton Hoo, which is now a Grand Hotel. It was designed by 18th century architect Robert Adams. And it is a very beautiful feature of that big house. This breezeway here that we see is a nod to his favorite architecture, the Greek and Romans. The pretty Corinthian columns here open up into a beautiful connection between the two buildings. The library is now under renovation, but that's where we still house his library, his books. On through here is our Mary Lou Whitney Rose Garden. This was built by her husband, John Hendrickson, as a birthday gift, and it's full of her favorite knockout pink roses. We also have a monarch way station for our monarch butterflies, and it's full of milkweed. And next, we'll take you to the exquisite Shell Grotto. We are now in George Headley's Shell Grotto. Originally, this was a three-car garage, but after one of George's big world tours of Europe, he came back with inspiration to create a shell grotto. Over in France, Italy, and England, most of the big country homes had fanciful pavilions called follies, and in them were hidden little shell grottos. So when he came back, he moved his cars out and started designing this shell grotto escape place. The floors are coral slabs from the Keys in Florida. Took him a year. He started gluing all of his shell collection to every surface in here, including the ceiling. He designed a beautiful shell mosaic up there, and with the help of artist Carl Maloff, they installed it. He houses all of his extensive shell collection from all over the world in these walls. And it was his favorite place to come and relax and read. And now we will take you back into the large museum. And in this large museum, that museum architecture along with this was reminiscent of the library combination of different architectural features. Here we are in front of the main museum that George Headley designed, along with the library and the Shell Grotto. It also replicates the pointed roof line that he loved with the palaces of Thailand. And you'll notice on each wing, the Roman arches are incorporated in this architecture as well. He tied all these three buildings in together at the same time. And then in front of us, in front of the museum, is the pet cemetery that George Headley installed. It houses the remains of all of his pets, his dogs, his cats. His most famous pet was Ernie. He was a dachshund, and Ernie was in California with him when he was designing beautiful jewelry for the movie stars and famous dignitaries. and he would dress Ernie up in some of his jewelry, his necklaces and earrings, and let Ernie parade around the swimming pool at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Got quite a bit of attention and sold quite a bit of his jewelry. But that's a beautiful little feature that George has kept up. And now we will go into the main museum. You'll see the treasures that we have in there. It houses the Bibelot collection that's permanent, and it also houses our exhibits that come from all over the world, regional, national, and international art. Welcome.
Welcome to the inside of the museum. We're so glad to have you. And the first thing people usually look at when they come to the museum is our permanent collection. We have the Bibelot room. The Bibelot room is a permanent collection that we have that was done by George Headley. George was an artist and studied art in New York, and then he went to Paris, where he learned that he liked to make jewelry. And he studied with a very famous jewelry maker, and he started to make jewelry and bibelots, which the French translation for bibelots is decorative objects that are made with precious things. So he then went to California, to Hollywood, where he had many clients, famous actresses. He was at the Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles, California, and he opened George Headley Inc. in 1946. It was there that Headley cultivated a clientele, including Hollywood celebrities Fanny Brice and Joan Crawford, Douglas Fairbanks. And designing under his own name, he enjoyed a more public success. And then came back to Lexington. So we are fortunate to have many of his creations in our Bibelot room. The bibelots and the jewels are some of our most fanciful treasures here at the museum. Another part of our permanent collection here at the museum are our dollhouses that were designed and made by Mary Lou Whitney for her daughters. They are exact replicas of her home, her artist cabin, her guest house, and of course her famous pool house where they had many soirees back in the day, and it's quite beautiful. They are painstakingly and beautifully reenacted, and also every dish, every book, every painting, every piece of furniture is a replica of what was in Mrs. Whitney's home. Also part of our permanent collection inside the museum, we have the Shell Horse, which was commissioned by the Headley-Whitney for the 2010 Horse Mania. And so we have that on display, and people really enjoy seeing that, as well as a variety of other shells that George had and made and designed. We also have some beautiful gowns that Mary Lou Whitney wore on state visits that are quite intricate and delicate and beautiful. So twice a year at the museum we have exhibitions. National, regional, and sometimes international artists join us. We had to take a little break here at the first of the year. We all know why. And we were able to bring our photography exhibit currently. And it fills this museum with 175 pieces of incredible photography by 4 notable Kentucky photographers. We call the exhibit Indelible. Because that word has a lot of meaning about memorable, lasting, and I certainly think this work applies to that, to those words. In this exhibit, we have James Archambeault. It is a 40-year retrospective of his life's work. I think we all know Mr. Archambeault for his Kentucky books and calendars and everything that he did commercially, but to see his work here in this museum, in this lighting, some of his original and signed pieces is just incredible. We're so fortunate to have it. We have over 60 pieces that we curated to sort of show his span of his life's work. Now, Jim shot on film, and strictly on film. He did not Photoshop, he did not do any digital enhancement. So what you'll see here, and it's so exciting and so rich and vibrant, is his real work on film. So this room I particularly love because I call it the Four Seasons room. Jim was very famous for his landscapes, and this room is specifically of all his beautiful Kentucky landscapes. I think if you come here and see this nature, that you'll be uplifted, and that's what we hope for when you come to the Headley-Whitney anyway. But, and then we also have other sections of his work. He did a lot of horses. He cared about the barns and the historic nature of the barns of Kentucky, and that sort of rounds out his portion of the show. We also have Stephen Hockensmith and his incredible display of monarch butterflies called the Chrysalis Project, as well as his new work called Back to Creation. We'll have him a little later in the show to talk about that himself. We have Linda Bruckheimer. Linda Bruckheimer is an incredible author, preservationist, and photographer. Her work is strictly about Kentucky, though she does travel the world. We are featuring her Kentucky work, and it has a lot of wit, a lot of humor, sort of comes from a journalistic perspective, and people are really enjoying her work. I think you will too. It's very, has a lot of humor to it, and a lot of ways of seeing and really looking at Kentucky that we might not all get to see. Linda goes on the back roads and really gets those shots and those feelings, and he's sort of like Kentucky as most people don't get to see it. So we think you'll enjoy that. We also have Deirdre Lyons, who is of course the co-founder of Alltech. Deirdre is an amazing artist, and she has done her work is called Cool Cats, which she has photographed at large game preserves in Africa. And it sort of combines her love of nature and photography. And we've placed that in our bibelot room because it's quite exotic, and it sort of goes with these exotic bibelots that we have.
I'm Stephen Hockensmith, and I want to thank the Headley-Whitney Museum of Art, Christina Bell, and all the people that made this possible. And the person that really made it possible was the life's work of James Archambeault. Jim was an inspiration to many photographers, and his calendars and his work over the last, well, he was late 20th century master here in Kentucky. A lot of great photographers here in Kentucky. Jim, I would have to put amongst the best. So the work that I've done, that when I got a call from Christina inviting me to be a part of this exhibit, my thought immediately was the work I was doing in Red River Gorge was titled Back to Creation. And I thought it was perfectly fitting for a tribute to Jim's life's work, which is very amazing. If you go through it piece by piece, you'll understand that he is a teacher of composition, and he knows when the light is at its optimum. So with that in mind, I wanted to transition my work into what the digital advances, the format of the printmaking, and what all's happened in the last 20 years. So Back to Creation, as you can see from here, is a mixture of black and white and color. My earliest passion was in the black and white darkroom with a little Pentax H1A. I was maybe 16 by the time all of that manifest, and I've spent my life chasing the art of photography. Photography is consumed every day through television, through now the iPhone mass production, but there is an art to photography. What you see today can be anything we want it to be. It can be art, it can be Facebook or whatever, but my ambition in this project of Back to Creation was to just get back to my roots and create some spiritual photography, or at least the photography be a vehicle and a craft to express the spirituality that I feel for our country and our rural areas, and certainly the Red River Gorge is our golden gem here in the state of Kentucky. The Chrysalis Project was created a year and a half or so before, and it is the life cycle of a monarch. And to me, it was, the spirituality of the project was that rebirth is an opportunity for becoming new again, and As I followed the monarchs into Mexico and saw the heavens full of just it was beyond imagination, beyond words. The skies were even darkened from the amount of nests that were emptied into the open air up on Cedra Pelon, which was a mountain above Moncheros. But I followed the cycle from there all the way back to the chrysalis, and the monarchs travel through Kentucky, and they're the only migrant. It was just miracles upon mysteries, and it was so uplifting to be able to see what the cameras can really do now, as opposed to just click and run and say that's what came out, but to be in control of the color and to show, and what could be more beautiful than the monarch colors of orange and black and the deep living greens of the vegetation that they feed on, and the milkweed and the beautiful, beautiful flowers. So the purpose of the monarch and the chrysalis project was more than just me selling art. We give 15% back to the Chrysalis House in Lexington, Kentucky, and it helps the ladies that have found dependency on opioids or alcohol or whatever, and be reborn, and their infants get to go into the Chrysalis home, and the people there. It's just something that we all could give to, and we all would be better for. So I welcome you to the Headley-Whitney. They've been very generous over the years with me. They've helped me define who I want to be, and I'm grateful to all that have been involved. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today at the Headley-Whitney Museum and the Bluegrass Trust deTour. We're so thrilled to have you. We want to welcome you out to the museum. We're here with this exhibition until November 15th, so go to headleywhitney.org. We are socially distanced, masked, and taking all the appropriate precautions, so we are safe for you to come out and visit, and we look forward to welcoming you. We are having some special events in October called Sip and See, where you'll be able to try a beverage and see the exhibit and an artist talk. So please join us. We hope to see you soon at the Headley-Whitney Museum.